Now, how does a zakat year work, right? Now, this is the zakat year is, remember, zakat is payable once a year. That's why it's payable. So, how does this whole cycle work? How does zakat function in terms of cycle? So, before we look at the assets, let's just understand how it works in terms of payment, cycle, and obligation. So, for example, remember, zakat is paid on a lunar year. We use the lunar year generally. There is permission to use a solar calendar. The IOF Sharia standards have mentioned it specifically. And if a business was to use the solar calendar, then they would use 2.577% just to factor in the extra days that come in a solar calendar, right? So it's 2.577%. I would generally recommend people to stick to this lunar calendar. Why? Because we don't have much touch with the our heritage, and the Islamic calendar that we have, it's something we should keep in touch with. There are sacred months in there. One way to keep in touch with this is through zakat, understanding zakat and using the Islamic calendar. It'll keep us in touch with our heritage, and things that happened historically in these months will be more aware and conscious of those events. So, a person here, as you can see on the screen, um, he had wealth. If this line is the nisab, just for argument's sake, we've kept it static. Really, the nisab fluctuates, right? But for argument's sake, just to make it easy as an example, it's static is 214 pounds. This person, he wasn't, he never had a nisab in the beginning in this month in Jumad al Ula, but then in Jumad al Thani or Jumad al Ukhra, right? Uh, he has wealth more than the nisab, the threshold. The black line is the threshold. He has more than that. So that activates his year, right? His year begins here. So now he'll pen this date down, whatever it is, right? The first of Jumad al-Ukhra or Jumad al-Thaniya, right? And then you see throughout the entire year, his wealth has stayed above. No problem, right? Generally, when it comes to the Hanafi school, and there's a few differences amongst the different schools here, but the Hanafi school has this view that fluctuations really don't matter in the year. As long as your wealth doesn't hit zero, if your wealth goes above the nisab or below the nisab, it doesn't matter. The Shafi'i school is of the view that fluctuations do matter. If wealth goes beyond or below the nisab, that will reset your entire year. Okay, so in this scenario, here we are. This person, it's the start of his year. Uh, what will he do? He'll wait until Jumad al-Thaniya comes again. Jumad al-Ukhra comes again. And because he still has wealth over and above the nisab on this live nisab of that date, right? So it's a live nisab you're looking at. You're not looking at historic nisab. You're looking at live nisab every time. And for argument's sake, it was 214 pounds again, which is rarely the case, but just say we've kept it static here. He'll now be required to pay zakat on his full that he has, the cash that he has, not just the amount above the nisab, rather his entire zakatable assets here. So he has 300 pounds, as we can see. So he has to pay 2.5% of 300 pounds, which is £7.50. So he won't pay 2.5% of the nisab. He'll be paying 2.5% of how much he has. Okay. So that's one scenario. Another scenario, look what happens here. In this instance, his wealth is going up and down. He started with below the year. His year began here, Jumad al-Thaniya again. But come at the end of the year, he has less than nisab. And therefore, as you probably all know and guessing right now, zakah is not due because his net worth is below the threshold. And therefore, this year is no longer applicable. He'll no longer be required to pay zakah. He will wait now until the next time he has zakatable assets equaling the nisab, and he'll start a new year, a new cycle then. Right? So in this scenario, nothing for him to pay. However, what if he hits the minus and goes to zero and minus? Then in that scenario, he had more than nisab here. His wealth decreased. He had some heavy expenditure, and come Muharram, and he was in the minus. He was negative. That will cancel his year altogether, and therefore, if he had any previous year, for example, his year was Jumad al Ula, he will not use Jumad al Ula as his year. that's been cancelled because he hit 0. Rather, what will happen is he'll wait for the next time to hit the nisab, and that's when he will become a nisab holder, and that's when his new year will start. Right, so he'll now start a new year from this date, which is at the end of Rabi'ul Thani, or in the beginning of Rabi'ul Thani, right? That's really where it's supposed to be. And his year will begin from there, right? Not from Rabi'ul Awwal, because he had less than Rabi'ul Awwal, Rabi'ul Thani, right? That's when his year will begin.
Islamic finance learning made simple and memorable.